Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We are so glad you're here with us. It is Brogan and Lauren. Brogan, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Lauren. How are you doing?
Doing great. Although I was really sad to miss out on wine night at Jeffrey's the other night. How was it?
It was good. It wasn't just wine. There were also martinis involved. And in that crack popcorn, I don't know what they're putting in there, but it's definitely a good time. So we'll have to
It,
do it again soon.
yes, absolutely. And for those of you not in Austin, obviously there's always a whirlwind of openings and spotlight on the Austin food scene. But I have to say, some of the classics to me are still the best. And Jeffrey's is somewhere that I have frequented all too often of growing up in Austin, but it's one of the best. There's not a cozier place to sit in the bar by the fire, especially in the winter with the Christmas tree up. I just love it. So if you haven't been, I highly recommend checking it out.
Definitely agree.
Yes. Okay, let's jump right in. NIL versus professional competition. Should collegiate athletes be allowed to take money from competing in professional events? There's back and forth. NIL has opened up a whole new world of revenue stream for athletes, but they still cannot accept money from professional competition. Athletes are able to make money from their personal brand, not their direct athletic performance. They can sign commercials, take endorsements, run camps, sell merchandise, all using their name and likeness. They're not able to be paid to play or compensated for competing in NCAA events, which obviously otherwise every single NCAA athlete would be getting paid. NIL is framed as an entrepreneurial income for athletes. Then, on the other hand, when athletes take money for competing in professional sports and events, the NCAA looks at it as direct competition for the athletic skills, since under NIL, that's not technically what they're getting paid for. This historically disqualifies them from amateur status. So NIL is more about who you are, competing professionally is more about what you do, and the NCAA wants to keep them very separate. NIL was not the NCAA's idea. They were more forced into it. There was a court ruling in 2021, NCAA versus Alston, and the state laws made it illegal to block athletes from profiting from their image. So, at the same time, the rulings did not require NCAA to allow direct pay for their individual performance. So, there's a lot of gray areas in sports like golf, tennis, track, diving, where college athletes can take some limited prize money to cover expenses if they compete in professional events, but they can't get paid for actually winning. So, it's a really interesting divide. Olympic sports are starting to be reconsidered because athletes compete internationally against professionals before and after college. So that's, again, another segment of it. So I just think that, again, great that they've opened it up. Athletes are able to get paid. At the end of the day, the universities are making so much money off of their image, their brand, and their talent. Most first and foremost, or else they wouldn't be in the spotlight that they are. What are your thoughts?
So I actually like the idea of NIL money. Athletes are putting in that kind of work and representing their schools deserve to benefit from it. College sports brings in millions of dollars. And for years, the players, have never seen a dime. So this finally kind of gives them a chance to build their own brand and set themselves up for life after sports, which I think is super fair. That said, I still think it's only half of what college athletics should be. So, talent, performance matter, but so do, your character, discipline, and how you handle yourself off the field or the court or, you know. So, making money is great, but it shouldn't just replace learning things like, teamwork, leadership, responsibility, ultimately the building blocks of who you are as a person. There's just got to be a balance at the end of the day. So, NIL should be about rewarding athletes for who they are. So, again, their image, personality, and influence, and not paying them like professionals for wins and losses. If you're good enough to go pro, go pro, but college should still mean something more, a place to grow, compete, learn, not just another business deal.
Definitely. And I agree with that. I just think that overall, they're not random students. At the end of the day, they are student athletes, students being first. Like you said, they still have to prove themselves in the classroom and off the court, off the field. Their image and likeness and is based on their talent and the way that they compete. So I think that it's wrong that they're not allowed to accept money based on their performance, especially if it's more of a singles focused sport like golf, tennis, again, track, swimming, diving, where the NIL money is not pouring in as much as it is for football and basketball. There may be collegiate athletes that can go play these tournaments and take money and compete. And it's enhancing their personal brand. And some athletes, again, who are not specifically getting a high paid, football type NIL deal, they go out there. At the end of the day, it's a reflection on the university. And they're able to benefit and capitalize on that for themselves. And I don't think that it's negative that they take money from it. I understand that there's a little bit of a difference where football and basketball players, again, they're set. They're the ones that are making the big NIL deals, a
Mhm.
huge component of recruiting. And I know it's more of a fine line for football and basketball. Like those are team sports. You can't be halfway professional, halfway college. You stay in your lane. You're either playing college or either playing professional. But these single sports, like a tennis player or a golfer that can go play in professional events and still be in college. I just don't see how they can't collect money on that, again, for their skills, which enhances their image, enhances the image for the school, but could be getting paid NIL money. That's where I think the weird divide is.
Fair. But you're going to college to go to school. You are not, a business essentially. So once you graduate, go do that. That's my point.
And I mean, that's kind of where the NCAA sits with it. And that's why they try to keep, tight leash for these athletes to kind of keep them where they need to be. But NIL has just kind of opened that whole world a little bit more when that wasn't even part of the equation. You just heard you can't
Yeah.
be playing professional sports, getting paid, and being in college. That was pretty straightforward. But now you're getting all these deals, all making all this money, but you have to keep it strictly to college. So totally get it. Okay, next, Angel Reese and Victoria's Secret. Angel Reese is Victoria's Secret's first ever professional athlete to walk the runway at the Victoria's Secret fashion show. That was just announced. First ever show was in New York City in 1995 at the Plaza Hotel, and it started as a relatively small event to promote the brand of Victoria's Secret at Fashion Week. And then by the 90s and 2000s, it became famous worldwide, for their production, the elaborate themes, the famous performers, angels wearing their wings, Heidi Klum, Giselle, Adriana Lima, all the faces, just kind of totally transformed the show to next level. Now it's become this global pop culture spectacle. Angel has been announced as the first professional athlete to walk. Angel, a little background on her. She was known for her physicality, flair as a young basketball player. She got the nickname of Bayou Barbie, and later in her career stuck with her, blending toughness along with her personality. She'd come out with her makeup and her nails and her hairstyles and, her own personal style while competing. Up college player where she finished her career at LSU and is now with the Chicago Sky. She was featured in Sports Illustrated in 2023 and in her own right represents a new era of athletes, marketable and culturally influential. So why of all athletes would Victoria's Secret choose her?
I do not know.
That's the question. Victoria's Secret has been on a roller coaster. I mean, it was at the height of what they are as far as a brand, and then it kind of fell behind as a business and as a relevant brand. There was more competition, backlash for not wanting plus size models, internal company issues, a little bit of identity crisis to stay relevant. And so they've been recently trying to shed that old image of kind of the supermodel fantasy and replace it with more empowered, inclusive, contemporary identity, which a lot of brands are trying to bring that to the forefront of their identity. Angel's not a traditional runway model, and her personal brand is athleticism, strength, confidence, which aligns exactly with what they're trying to promote. They see her as a cultural figure. She understands the attention, and aligning with her makes the brand feel current. She's young. She's a Black woman at the center of modern culture. She has a massive voice to a lot of people. Her voice is different than a supermodel, which was always about looks, superficial, really no depth. And obviously, that's not me saying that. That's just kind of what historically the role of a supermodel, and especially these high fashion supermodels that were walking in the Victoria's Secret fashion shows in the early 2000s. Angel has millions of followers. She's got an engaged Gen Z audience to tap into that Victoria's Secret's obviously hoping to reach. It's a marketing win for them. Their whole tour is leaning into women defining confidence on their own terms. She fits that perfectly. She's built her own brand. She's defied critics, leveraged impressive NIL deals, one of the most visible college athletes, and then turned successful professional story. I just think it's a really weird blend of a fit.
Yes, I definitely agree. Just to kind of recap what you were saying, I get maybe why they picked her. She's popular, again, has this huge social media following. From a marketing standpoint, it makes sense. They're trying to stay relevant, show a more modern image, everything that you kind of mentioned. But I don't think she was the right choice at all. I don't know if you've ever watched Angel Reese play, especially against Caitlin Clark. She's got some vendetta against her, but she has zero class on the court. She's talented, but the attitude, the hostility, the way she carries herself during games, it's definitely not what I would want representing a brand that used to stand for, elegance and confidence. That's what I think of when I think of Victoria's Secret. But there was even a game where she wasn't playing. She was on the bench, and her teammate threw Clark to the ground. The ball was not even in play. And Reese jumped up for joy, cheering. That's definitely not empowerment. That's poor sportsmanship.
Yes.
And here's the thing, I mean, Victoria's Secret models work just as hard as professional athletes. They train, they discipline their bodies, they carry themselves with grace. They're athletes in their own way. So why not choose someone with both confidence and class? Ultimately, someone who shows strength without all the bullshit and the drama. To me, it just feels like Victoria's Secret is trying way too hard to prove they've changed instead of just staying true to what made them iconic in the first place.
Right. And their roots. And I totally agree with everything you said. Yes, she's talented. Yes, she's built her own personal brand, but she's also very controversial. And her behavior,
Yes.
her attitude, to me, has been the forefront of many of her games, many of her career highlights, and the basic surrounding of her image, in my opinion. Someone that doesn't deeply follow her and keep up with her, other than knowing that she's, elite women's basketball player. She was fun to watch in college. But again, the fun was a
Mhm.
little bit like you said, the catty side of it. Like it was just a different, there's no elegance, there's no, finesse about her or something that you would want to like emulate if you were trying to step up and be in the spotlight and in that position. You probably would want to carry yourself to a higher standard. So I don't think
Absolutely.
she's a good pick in any way. It wouldn't spark my interest to want to dive deeper into Victoria's Secret or the brand, but I do see how Victoria's Secret, if they're really wanting to tap into that audience and following that she has, how it
Mhm.
could be a good target for them. But for me, it's not
To
seeing it.
know. I have been to the Victoria's Secret fashion shows. I went in 2015 and I was blown away. I mean, these women are just a force just walking down
Yeah.
the runway. It's something amazing to watch, and I think everybody should. And I definitely wouldn't include her in that.
And to your point, they are probably actually don't get enough. When you hear of models, it's like, oh, they're anorexic. They set a bad
Mhm.
tone. They set a bad image to younger people and generations of growing up and having body image dysmorphia and things like that. And d- they work hard on their bodies. Not all of them are bulimic or anorexic. You're
No.
exactly right. The amount that they put in to look like that, and the confidence that they have to have, and kind of the mental toughness that they have to endure to be in those shows and be at the top of, that echelon of modeling, it does take a
Mhm.
lot of work. So,
Yeah.
well, on to that note, the WNBA season is over. The Las Vegas Aces won the 2025 championship, sweeping the finals 4-0. And as we touched on last week, just the viewership kept going up and up. So good for them. A little backstory on the Las Vegas Aces. They were bought by the Raiders owners, Mark Davis, in 2021 for $2 million. 4 years in, three WNBA titles. Tom Brady now is an investor. The Aces are worth over $300 million. That is an astounding return on your investment in a short 4 years.
I was gonna say, first off, did anyone know the Aces won? I mean, I'm a former women's basketball player, but I need to follow it a little bit more. But no, exactly what you were saying. I mean, pretty incredible growth in just 4 years. It definitely shows women's sports can be a solid business when the right people get behind it. It's more about the branding and marketing than ultimately the fan support. I hate to say it.
I agree. And getting the right people involved, like a Tom
Yeah,
Brady and
exactly.
Serena Williams stepping in to be behind all these women's sports, Kim Kardashian stepping up. You're right. If the light gets shined on it and it's streamed and marketed in a different light, it's automatically just going to bring numbers and values up. Great to see, but to
Yeah.
your point, we're women athletes and we haven't been keeping up. So it'll get there. The NBA regular season begins October 21st, so we'll see how this season goes.
Yeah, we have football, we've got baseball playoffs, now the NBA all overlapping. It's definitely a sports overload. So good times.
It's great, yes. And the Dodgers are up 2-0 against the Brewers in the NLCS. Mariners are up 2-0 on the road versus the Blue Jays in the ALCS. Did you know? Well, I still like to refer to them in the branding of the Brooklyn Dodgers more than the Los Angeles Dodgers, but the team was in Brooklyn until 1957 when they moved to Los Angeles and continued as the Dodgers. I just love their old school Brooklyn Dodgers logo. I wish they'd kind of kept it, even though obviously they had to change to West Coast. But
I was not aware of this, so I actually did some digging, and I will add that the classic look just feels a little bit more authentic. So I'll have to agree with you on that one.
yeah, love it. And the NCAA has approved a policy allowing Division One athletes to and staff to bet on professional sports. It's still prohibited by the NCAA, but I can see that. They would be game fixing, all of that whole nother thing to regulate. But I don't see why there was ever an issue with betting on professional sports. As sports betting became legal and more normalized in so many states, the NCAA's ban became more and more misaligned and a little bit out of place with the environment of many of the students. Again, not college betting, professional betting.
Obviously, I feel like I like I think of like insider trading when I think of betting on your own teams and things like that. But again, that should never happen. If they're responsible adults, they shouldn't be treated like criminals for placing an NFL bet on a team they literally had no pull for or they don't play for. I think it's just another bet.
Totally, and they're adults. I mean, student athletes that are 18
Yep.
and older can legally place wagers and bet,
Yep.
other than just the NCAA rule prohibiting that. So it really became a tension between the law and the policy of the NCAA. The NCAA says, it helps them focus on the enforcement and regulations around protecting the integrity of college sports and betting. And their own media release statement, it says it allows member schools to focus on protecting the integrity of college games while encouraging healthy habits for student athletes who choose to engage in betting on professional sports, which again, kind of like we said, stay in your lane. They'll focus on that, and teaching healthy habits is important. So
Exactly.
it's good. Progressive, let's say. It's good that some of these rules are changing a little bit when they've been in place for so long. And you got to keep up with the times.
So I say change is good.
Change is good, yes. NCAA has also proposed a rule that could give NCAA athletes 5 years of eligibility, ending red shirts. So it would be 5 and 5. That would allow athletes 5 calendar years to complete 5 seasons in any given sport instead of the current 4 seasons. So then after the 5 years, you would no longer be able to compete, even if you haven't used all 5 of the seasons. It's a decision that has to be made because it's going to start jamming up the rosters if it doesn't go into effect this year, and it would affect a lot of seniors and the incoming recruits. The consensus is from feedback from coaches that if they're going to do it, it has to happen now, just for that reason of recruiting, because during COVID everyone got an extra year of eligibility, and this now will be the last graduating class to get through with that cycle. It'll be interesting to see if they speed it up and put it in place, or they kind of put pause and gel their ducks in a row before they make that happen and it goes into effect. But I think it would really kind of change the landscape because redshirting is so popular.
Yeah, I was just talked about how change can be good.
Now we're going back on it.
Yeah. Maybe too much change can throw things off a bit, but I don't know. It should always be 4 years. That's how long you're an undergrad. You're there for school at the end of the day, as I mentioned earlier. So let's just make it about that.
Yeah, we will see. So, big topic. Penn State's James Franklin officially fired. Started off the season so strong and then out. One of the biggest buyouts since Jimbo Fisher at 49.7 million. He's owed a massive amount in total. So Franklin has a duty to mitigate clause, meaning that his contract requires him to actively seek another job either in coaching or television. And if he lands a job paying less than $8 million a year, Penn State must pay the difference of that up through 2031. So he can't just sit idle, not be looking for a job. He has to be actively searching. I mean, just think of all the coaches that have been fired in college football through week 7. It's over $90 million in buyouts. The security that these coaches have for such big buyouts in their contract is necessary, clearly, because if you're fired without cause, I mean, obviously if they do something that breaks the contract, that's one thing, but just to be fired on performance, I mean, that's massive security for them.
Talk about the best job ever as a fired football coach.
He actually actively has to be working, but not everyone has that clause, and that's a lot of money to
It's
be
a lot of
going
money.
forward. A lot of money, and it's one of the major components of college athletic economics, and it's something that's not going to go anywhere. I mean, the top coaches and their agents know that the coaches are in high demand at this level. And if you want them, you've got to pay for them.
Yeah.
And college also uses they also use it to not be have these coaches poached by the NFL, ties them to the school long term. I mean, they don't want a lot of movement, from school to school. The donors like having the stability. And many of these buyouts are not paid by the athletic department. They're paid for by donors and as kind of a separate pool of money because otherwise that's so much money and so much strain on the athletic department. So they're specifically structured in a way that it doesn't even shock the system or donors or the schools. Like they don't even flinch. At the end of the day, they want performance and they want winning, but it's just so interesting to me.
No, it really is. And I get it. These colleges are putting basically everything into these coaches. But yeah, that is a lot of money. So I wonder who they're going to bring on next. I
Yeah,
heard some birdies or the news that they're looking at that Notre Dame coach as well. So could be good timing for Notre Dame when they play USC this weekend. There could be some
that's
distractions going
right. A
on.
little chirping. Wow. And coaches rightfully so want that security. It's such a volatile industry to some extent between injuries, having a bad season, shift in momentum, and some programs want the coaches out and it's high stakes all around. So, the buyout helps compensate for that and the schools gamble on the upside of them winning championships, being successful and kind of look at it as the
Mhm.
cost of doing business. Is it the most logical economic thing? No, but I think the coaches deserve it.
I agree.
A lot falls onto them. Carlos Alcaraz, my little Carlitos, will be the latest Nike athlete to get his own personal logo. So I can't wait to see what that looks like. It's set to be revealed in November. So coming up, apparently the design has been approved and finalized by Nike, by Carlos's team. Nike's just keeping it under wraps so that they can have their big debut and have an impactful release. Very curious to see how that does. So I dove in a little bit further. What does a personal brand do for Nike? And then obviously on the athlete's side, Michael Jordan was the clearest example of what it does, an athlete driven brand within Nike. The Jordan brand generates billions of dollars. And obviously this deal is, one of a kind. And, Michael Jordan pockets 150 to $250 million a year from Nike based on his brand. Obviously, not the standard. That's not how it works with everybody, depending on demand and all of that. But LeBron, Caitlin Clark just came out with her, Serena, Kevin Durant, all of these athletes that fall under the Nike umbrella. Federer, obviously, was always one of my favorites. Give them their
Yes.
signature shoes, personalized sub brands, custom logos, and then the revenues tied directly to their respective brands. But for them, usually range, again, Jordan aside, ranged from tens of millions to low hundreds of millions. And they will never rival the impact of Jordan. But it goes back to the personal brand of these athletes. It really is just going back to the likability of the individual athletes.
Yeah, I mean it's smart business, and I think he's everything Nike wants in their next generation. Like he's young, he's global, he's very likable too. I, watching him play recently, I was excited for him. I think reinforces how much sports have shifted towards like personal branding over performance. I mean, he's also very good too, but yeah, everything's getting super commercialized. But I think it's a smart move for Nike.
Totally. I think it'll be a good ad. So can't wait to see what that looks like. So big week here in Austin. It is F1
Huge.
race week. So fun. Are you going to the race?
We never get tickets, but we always end up going there.
Always, yeah, and always the parties. I know
Yeah.
that.
I
Adam
was
always
like, I'm
likes
more
to.
geared towards the parties. So.
Exactly, but it's just crazy to see the excitement build all week. We go from one thing from ACL rolling into 2 weeks of ACL, rolling into F1 week. The track runs the races from the 17th through the 19th, but there's just so many pop-ups, events, the
Mhm.
international flair, the light on Austin, COTA, the racetrack, comes alive. It's changed so much from when it began in 2012. And there was talks of it not returning. The track was in trouble. And then there was just this massive boom and interest and such an influx of people from all over the world coming here for the race. That's been really, really cool to see. And the track itself is a 20-turn track, 56 laps. Turn one, right from the start, is a signature hill, steep hill climb, makes it difficult for drivers to position right off the bat. It's really the viewing from the track is really cool, the way that they set it up, just the
Very
stands and
accessible. Yep.
very accessible. All different angles. Depending where you are, you really see a totally different part of the race.
Yep.
Obviously, you'd never see the full race for any race, but it's really, really diverse. Charles Leclerc won last year driving for Ferrari. Sainz came in second, so it was a good year for Ferrari. Year before that, Max Verstappen won. So we'll see who wins this year. And
I
then, and
will I will add just about Ferrari right now. I know there's some things going on there. Rumors circulating that, Ferrari might replace Fred Vassar with Christian Horner from Red Bull. Horner's obviously been very successful, but to be honest, he's not exactly a fan favorite. He's constantly complaining about other teams. He's filing protests. He's acting kind of like a snake behind the scenes, in my opinion. But now there's like the whole situation where he supposedly paid around $3 million to settle a scandal involving a woman at Red
uh-oh.
Bull. So it just doesn't sit right with me, especially Ferrari, always having a classy legend, basically. I don't think Horner fits that mold, even if he can win, but I don't know.
Another fun side of it, obviously, is entertainment. This year, Kygo and Garth Brooks are the headliners. I will be out of town this year for it, but I've definitely put in my time at the track and all of the events. It'll be a fun weekend here in Austin.
I'm looking
And then,
forward to it.
yes, Apple is set to acquire the F1 broadcast for $140 million. The official announcement is expected to drop this weekend during the COTA GP, which is timely. The partnership would see Apple taking over from ESPN at the beginning of 2026, which will be very interesting. So Apple's demanding all the streaming exclusivity, which would mean an end to the F1 TV service in the US, which a lot of people really like, but I understand from Apple's perspective, they would want to hold kind of a monopoly on all of it. So that'll be a good announcement for this weekend.
It's kind of annoying though. All these like streaming services are just trying to buy up sports programming, which can be a bit frustrating. Amazon Prime buying like football, and it could lose the momentum from F1 that I feel like the US is gaining just from all the viewership. But we'll see what happens.
That's a really good point, and I think that that's where some of the kickback will fall because of that F1 TV service, that everyone loves.
Hmm.
So, it will be interesting, and it's also getting frustrating. You have to have, like, 20 different apps and
It's
things to watch. I mean, I
yes,
just like to go back to the day where you could just kinda go down the list and flip from channel to channel and not from, app to app, but
just good old cable.
it's business, exactly. Good old cable TV guide.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods announced that he had another back surgery this week. I hated to hear that. I just love
Very much
Tiger. I
so.
think his career is sadly most likely over. I just was hoping he had like one more Masters win or something monumental to end his career after everything he's been through. Just so talented, such a great story, one of the greatest of all time. The amount of surgeries he's had, the recovery time, your body just doesn't ever come back to that fully at any age. And
Yeah.
now, as he's getting older and just this many, it's just not going to happen. Poor guy.
I mean, it's surprising how many surgeries he's had. It's completely derailed his career. Imagine how great he would be. He's already like the GOAT. So it's really phenomenal how he's continued to come back and bounce back. So I wouldn't be completely shocked if he entered tournament down the line here in the next few years. He's really taken a toll, which is again with all the surgeries.
I could see him entering a tournament for sure. I was just thinking, I don't think he's going to win another big
You never know.
championship or
Never
something,
say
but you
never,
never know.
Lauren.
I will never say never. Again, that would be the best story ending to his career ever. I'd go out on a high note if I was him. You just hate to see it for anyone.
Okay.
So we'll just have to
I'll
bet
let
on
you be
Charlie Woods
pessimistic.
now. Yeah.
There that's a good one. That's a good one as well.
Exactly. Last week, we mentioned that the NHL season kicked off. Well, sadly for New York fans, along with some of their other teams and their losing records, the New York Rangers are the first team in NHL history to be shut out in the first 3 games. I mean, turn it around. There's plenty of time in the season, but I thought that was an interesting stat of the first team ever to be shut out in their first 3 games. That's sad. New Yorkers must just have a tough time in general with their
Other
teams.
sports, yeah.
So we'll have to count on the Knicks for now. Though you can open the season with a bang, hopefully.
Oh,
Turning to college football. What a weekend, and what a weekend coming up that we have. Oregon lost at home to Indiana. Big game, ended the Ducks' winning streak. Prior to this win for Indiana, they were 0-46 on the road against top 5 teams. This has to be one of their biggest wins absolutely ever. And to go into
ever.
Eugene and beat the Ducks at home, Gotta give them credit where credit's due.
They're still patting themselves on the back for sure.
They are, and I'm sad for my Ducks, but it's okay, they'll come back. And then next up, let's give it up for your
Yeah.
USC Trojans defeating Michigan.
I mean, that was a huge Big Ten win, especially after Michigan made it a point that USC hasn't sold out their stadium this season until they came into town. LOL. We really showed them. I will also say it shows like they always like these warm weather, soft schools from the West Coast. Can they keep up, in the Big Ten and especially against a powerhouse like Michigan? So it was a huge win. I was screaming at my TV, and I hope we go into Notre Dame this weekend with that momentum.
It was a great game. I know you were just thrilled. I was thinking of you the whole
Yes.
time. So, yeah, let's keep it going. Texas OU, obviously, the one of the biggest rivalries, and just what Arch needed. I'm so glad
Mhm.
for him. Glad for Texas. Should boost Arch's confidence, Texas's confidence. The fans needed that. Everyone needed that. I don't have to be a huge Texas fan. That's fine. But I do want Arch to succeed, and I do really like him. And I was just really glad to see that he came in biggest platform that he's played on since Ohio State. He really stepped up and I think played the way that he's been expected to play since the start. So
Yeah,
good for
yeah. No,
him.
I couldn't agree more. I was gonna say, never give up on him. I hated the fans that were booing him in that other game that I was there in person for. I just love how he hasn't given up despite what everybody's saying around him, and hopefully this will continue to give him the momentum to get back on top.
It'll be good to see him going forward in the season and hopefully take that little boost and run with it. Other losses, Illinois, Iowa State, Florida State, lots of ranked teams took the L. You just never know what's going to happen in college football. So
Big
love to
shakeup.
see it. A big shakeup. Yeah. Ohio State, Miami, Indiana, I think those are the three that won't face another ranked team for the rest of the season as of week 8. We'll see if there's any upsets there. I'm sure there's bound to be given this past stretch. So, a little lightning in the schedule for them. And then, as you said, USC, Notre Dame coming up on Saturday. USC's ranked 20, Notre Dame's ranked 13. That'll be a big game in your household, split
Yes.
family.
Yes, very much so. And as I mentioned earlier, Marcus Freeman, being eyed for the head coach at Penn State, I'm hoping that that can cause a little bit of disruption for Notre Dame going into it. But I'm rooting for my Trojans, and it'll be a good game to watch.
Definitely. I'm excited for that. And then Georgia Ole Miss, another big game to watch this weekend. Ole Miss has not won a game in Athens in 29 years. I thought that was a really interesting stat. The last time was in 1996.
Oh
Is
wow,
that not crazy?
I that is very very crazy. I'm looking forward to seeing that game then too.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Then moving to the NFL, Giants versus Eagles last Thursday. Unbelievable Thursday night game. Giants won 34-17. Talk about a win that they needed. Just massive against the Eagles. Sent the internet into a full on tizzy about Jackson Dart and Scadaboo, a duo, highly entertaining.
Entertaining, yes.
Very entertaining. And I think it's so funny that people don't really come out on the front end to like tell these tales and bring up Scadaboo's past and his knocking his head on, brick walls before games and just being like totally insane until they have something like this that just stuns everybody. And then everyone's like, well, how did he get not scooped up, higher in the draft and blah, blah, blah. And it's just funny to see. But I do think that they are quite the combo.
Quite the duo.
Fun to watch. And then Broncos and Jets played in London. Denver won. Jets are now the only team left in the NFL to not have won a game.
I mean, did you watch that game? Like
Part of me.
it was terrible. I swear every possession was a punt. So, I mean, I guess if you're in the UK and into soccer, they got to see a lot of kicking,
Yeah,
but it
kicking
definitely wasn't
felt familiar
US
to
football.
them.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
So,
gosh, tragic. And speaking of tragedy, the poor Cowboys losing to the Panthers right after they've just shown such glimmers of hope. The Panthers. And then I saw today Stephen Smith was hating on Jerry Jones for saying that Cowboys are still in it. He's like, has he lost his mind? Is he off his rocker? They're still in it.
no, I mean, it's watching talent with no consistency. That's all it is at the end of the day.
It is. And again, it's just his little spectacle of a show,
All about me.
shows his glimmers. But these fans, they're real fans. America's team fans are not going anywhere. So they can be the absolute worst, the absolute best. And I will give them credit. They are right along there for the ride. So they can buckle up. Great Sunday night with the Chiefs and the Lions. Chiefs winning 30-17. The Chiefs had 0 accepted penalties the entire game. I mean, that's unheard of. I mean, it's so rare
Yeah.
that that happens. And then, of course, there was backlash from the fans about none of these calls being called and the refs favoring the Chiefs, which you hear all the time. I saw such a funny meme. You probably saw it too. It was the
Oh,
Coldplay
yes.
lady dressed as the ref, and then Patrick Mahomes behind her hugging her, just to
That was a
highlight
good
how
one.
much favored, yeah, how favored they really are. And then there was the after game altercation, little fight with Brian Branch and Juju Smith Schuster. Branch was suspended for 1 game without pay, which to me that really seems not that
Yeah,
intense.
Juju's my guy. He was playing at SC when I was actually there going to college. So I support him, but totally unnecessary. I don't know what the hell that was. There's no excuse for that, especially at their level. I don't know. It was just very unprofessional in my
Very unprofessional,
opinion.
regardless of
Yeah,
what goes on during the game. You don't need to do that. Everyone knows that. Like, that's just being an appropriate human. He knows better. So hopefully he learned a lesson from that. And apparently there's been other
from this one
incidences
game
with him.
experience.
And then Monday Night Football, the Falcons versus Bills, 24-14. Falcons won. Their defense was strong. Now the Bills are getting a lot of heat on them that they're frauds and not as good as they were supposed to be or good as they were. So we'll see if they can turn it around. But good win for the Falcons. And then Bears versus Commanders. Good win for the Bears, 25-24. Last second field goal, also a good game. So I feel like at least there's been routinely good / close games. Obviously some upsets, but
Yeah, no, I will add. I mean, this season kind of feels wide open. No teams are looking super unbeatable by any means. So I'm curious to see how it kind of all shakes up.
I know, and now everyone's back heavy on the Chiefs after them being down, oh, they're not gonna get
Yep.
to the Super Bowl, terrible start to the season, Mahomes is wobbly, shaky, doesn't look like he used to. Now everyone's flipped that around. The Chiefs are obviously the best in the league, they look the best, but I have to say the Lions competed very well. I mean, they look really good. Their errors were more unforced errors than the Chiefs just being exceptionally good, in my opinion, and I feel like there's a lot of teams like that, so it will be interesting going forward.
100%.
Yeah. So let's take a look at our weekly picks for this week. Steelers versus Bengals. Where are we going with?
Steelers,
Steelers, Rams, Jaguars,
Rams,
Eagles, Vikings.
Eagles.
Fly, Eagles, fly. Pa- Patriots, Titans.
Patriots.
Patriots. Yeah, a lot of hype around New England, too. People saying they look like they're back. Panthers versus Jets.
I mean, unfortunately, the Panthers, the Jets
Yeah,
aren't not looking too hot.
they're going to go another week with another O in their record.
Unfortunately,
Dolphins, Browns,
Browns,
Saints, Bears,
Bears.
Raiders, Chiefs,
Ugh, Chiefs,
Colts, Chargers.
Colts. That's a hard one.
Colts, yeah, I know. Giants, Broncos.
I'd say Giants.
Go Giants. We got to see more of Scat and more of Jackson Dart.
I like the drama.
Exactly. Packers versus Cardinals.
Packers.
Commanders versus Cowboys.
Ooh, Commanders.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, Jer.
So I know. I was gonna say. Sorry, fans. Too. I feel
Exactly.
bad.
Sorry, America's team.
I'd say the Falcons.
I agree. And Buccaneers, Lions.
We'll give it to the Lions.
Give it to the Lions. I think it'll be a good game. Texans versus Seahawks.
Seahawks. Go Darnold.
Exactly. Yes, your boy. Right. Well, lots to look forward to. We'll be watching F1 and all these upcoming games. Go Trojans. And
Right on.
yes, we're looking forward to everyone tuning in next week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, comment, let us know what you want to hear. And we'll be back soon.